It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now it's time for my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And Tim, I'm going to say you're in your wine cellar. You've been there before, I think. And this time, you got all those bottles of Welch's sparkling grape juice that have tripled in value that you're going to sell to the French. Am I right? Am I right about that?
No, I'm at the Schumer family Protum party.
Gee, let's take a look here. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yes, right.
Look at Uncle Chuck dressing up like Yasser Arafat. He's such a clown.
Well, you know, he could try and say that that's a talus. That's you know. And by the way, we are on the cusp of Purim, which is the happiest Jewish holiday. It's interesting because Trump was quoted as saying Chuck Schumer isn't Jewish anymore; he's Palestinian. And then I saw some tweets from some self-loathing Jews who saying, "How dare he say that?" And here's what I say: I think there's a story of this rabbi who was at like the yeshiva or some Jewish college, and there was one Jewish student who asked the most nonsensical questions. He was horrible, and another student complained about that first student and said, "Why do you let that student complain?" And because it's full of nonsense. And the rabbi said, well, it's Jewish nonsense. So Chuck Schumer, verily I say, you're a Jew, but you're nonsensical. Chuck Schumer, as Jeff Joniak might say in another context, you are ridiculous. So I don't blame Trump for saying that, although he doesn't really have the standing to say that he's not Jewish anymore. But I understand the sentiment.
You know, son-in-law might.
I'm sorry.
His son-in-law might. He could quote his son-in-law. He could say, "My son-in-law says he's not Jewish."
Yeah, there we go. So I mean, right, exactly. He's got standing that way. You know, you wonder why the Democrats are dying on this hill. You'd think they'd learned something from the election. It's just, and then we can go into the particulars of. Now I sound like Cliff Clavin here, citing NAMI. 8 USC 1182 and 8 USC 1227 at sequence. And that's the statute, which is pretty broad in defining how you can get rid of one of these people with of either a visa or a green card. They're just not citizens of the United States. And you don't even have to show that they bombed some factory, or they could have just been passing out literature, because we don't want their kind. And there's no reason we should feel bad about that, because if you come to the United States of America, you can't come in and say, we come here to destroy Western civilization. Now that is the most self-loathing Jew you could find. And that's what Chuck Schumer is. And the Democrats are supporting that. They didn't learn anything, which is great. They didn't learn anything.
I think they're still. I think
election.
they're still believing the polls is what it is. They think that they're still speaking to the majority. They think that it's just all MAGA nonsense.
What is that? Is that the Monmouth poll? Which they've suspended the Monmouth poll. They've ended it. There's no more Monmouth poll, which was described as the gold standard. Except somebody did a little research. They've been off by way off in the last few elections. But yeah, what poll are we talking now? Among Democrats, it's a little scary because the Democrats seem to be favoring Hamas. And,
ABC News got rid of their poll workers. Did you see that?
Did they?
Yeah, their whole poll department was fired. And David Muir was a little concerned about that till somebody pointed out that it was spelled with 2 L's.
Had he greased up that poll?
Yeah. Didn't want the poll workers gone.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, we could talk about this guy Mahmoud Kahlil, who's.
Isn't it actually Mahmoud? Isn't that how it?
Yeah, right.
Isn't it Mahmoud? It's you think a culture that invented algebra would know how to spell.
Right. They did so many good things a few thousand years ago. But what have you done for us lately? He's portrayed it, first he was a student, and what do you think of? You just think of some naive kid. No, I mean, basically he was there.
Right.
to foment discord. I mean, he was already done with school, and
It's like 21 Jump Street, or guys with beards proposing as high school students.
right,
Undercover.
absolutely.
It's the
So
same thing. Didn't we have the same thing like back in the Carter administration when all these Iranian students, quote unquote, were here in
sure.
the U.S. and they were like grandparents,
No,
but they were here on student visas.
it's kind of like Friday Night Lights when you had these hot 25, 26-year-old women playing 17-year-old high school students. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, I'm just wondering.
Which brings us around to the 17-year-old in Landman that you guys made fun of me before.
Hey, anytime we can bring the conversation around Landman, I'm happy about it. Are you all caught up with it so you don't have to take your headphones off now?
No, it's 1923.
Oh, 1923. You don't want to.
Yeah. Did you know? Did you? I
happened.
just. Well, no, I'm fine now. I'm all caught up on 1923.
You're all caught up on 19.
Did you know that? Did you know the 17-year-old in Landman is the same actress as the woman with rabies in 1923?
I just is
mind blown.
Mighty Carson.
And and this is going to blow your mind more. Do you know how I noticed? And this is going to fuel the fire, I think.
Because she has a birthmark next to her navel.
Yes, exactly. Oh okay.
God.
Thank you, Chris. She was getting a rabies shot, and I went, "Oh my gosh, she has the same belly button as the 17-year-old in Landman."
I recognize that navel anywhere. Is this like our high? What have we been working together for? Like 20 years now, off and on. It's got to be the best simpatico moment when I knew that I've seen that navel before. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Speaking of age, Mahmoud Kahlil is 29 years old, student.
Yeah, I don't think I think he graduated.
I think he's still in graduate classes, isn't he?
Whatever. I mean, he's there for a reason, and it's
he's still he's a former graduate student. He didn't.
It's to stir up, terrorist activity.
And get off campus.
It's so everybody's talking about this as if it's a First Amendment thing. Well, no, if you're not a citizen in the United States, you're not protected by the First Amendment. Now, there are some courts go one way, some courts go the other around for green cards, but the language of the statute is rather broad, and even
it's kind of like we're kind of like a big Costco. Sorry, Mahmoud, if you're not a member, you can't shop here.
No, I mean but think about it. What kind of self-destructive psyche do you have to have in order to say, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses? Speaking of 1923, they just had the whole Emma Lazarus poem last week. And could they have portrayed the doctors at Ellis Island as more evil? I mean, they should have had Snidely Whiplash mustaches. Yeah, I can't wait to send you back to the homeland. No, the you mix with syphilis. Oh my God! I mean, come on.
Taylor Sheridan likes to do that. I mean, he has a whole thing about the Indian schools where with the murder in the Indian schools, which it turns out to be just a story. They excavated one of the Indian schools and they couldn't find the graveyard with thousands of children in it.
Well, Taylor Sheridan liked his myths, but I like some of the myths. He's kind of like Trump. Some of the stuff is like, oh, come on, roll your eyes up here. But some of it's really good. I mean, when he goes for big oil, you got you got to love that. Yeah. Okay. So, but I mean, how self-destructive do you have to be in order to say, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, your people who want to destroy the very place that they're entering? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But that's the liberal mindset.
Bring a culture that are going to want to tear me down someday for not covering my face.
Anyway, so there you go. So I'm wondering, like, Pritzker. I mean, Durbin and Pritzker should be on two different sides. Pritzker wants to run for president, and so does Rahm Emanuel, by the way. Can you imagine Rahm versus Pritzker, two sons of Illinois going against each other in the primary. It's going to be a veritable Lincoln and Douglas reprisal with such great rhetoric as "you big fat slob, you midget." I mean, it's going to be really good.
I just saw that Mayor Pete is also Mayor Pete has also given up his run for governor in another state
in Michigan, where he never lived. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a citizen of the world, Mayor Pete. So, yeah,
but he's going to run for. So it's going to be Rahm, Pritz, and Mayor.
Maybe Kamala, coming if she's not running for governor of California, or in Gavin Newsom, who's having. I mean, who's he got on?
Bannon.
Charlie Kirk. He's had all these guys. Bannon. Yeah, he had Bannon on. But Abe Greenwald says from Commentary Magazine that Newsom really must have been hard up, because even Abe Greenwald, I mean, this peripheral character on, really, I love him, but he's peripheral in Commentary Magazine, said even he turned down Bannon. So, I mean, them's fighting words to Chris. But
I like Newsom running because his name rhymes with gruesome.
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy to write limericks about him.
There you go.
Bruce.
But yes.
A quick our new game, Guess What's Trending? Bannon 2028. It is.
There we go. Hey, the guy couldn't be that bad. Didn't he make like a fortune on Seinfeld? Bannon.
Yes, he has a syndicate. He's part of the syndicate.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. Wow. So anyway, all right. But I just wanted to say Rahm versus Pritzker. And then, how does Pritzker handle Durbin? Durbin's on the Schumer side of things. And is Pritzker going to, has he even commented on Mahmoud Khalid? Has he even said anything? I mean, there should be a schism in the Democratic Party.
Yeah. He said, thank God he didn't go to University of Chicago.
Oh, there you go. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. By the way, a little programming note. I noticed that Chris, he didn't state it out loud, but Sub Rosa, it was the first segment was basically Bruce's Jews news. And so thank you, Chris,
You're welcome.
for doing that, because I could think of other. To me, it's a very big deal. This this Mahmoud Kahlil, but
he didn't run the card.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it was Bruce's Jews news, and he didn't run the card.
He didn't do it. No, he didn't do it. So, all right, let's move on here. Hey, Gene Hackman. This is the ABC News Live tweet, Chris, that we have. I mean, it's really sad about him, being found all this time later. The wife dies first. But I'm thinking, he did these United Airlines voiceovers. That alone, remember the Rhapsody in Blue music bed to Gene Hackman? You think he could have somehow bought Final Peace and Quiet, but I mean, to be found that way, it's just, it's really, I mean, probably doesn't make any difference to him, but it's kind of sad. I mean, where are the 24-hour caregivers? Unless it was just a shock that she died.
Well, that's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I think she was his his sole caregiver.
But don't you imagine these Hollywood types? I mean, they're not supposed to go that way.
No, oh gosh, no. And then he obviously was wandering around the house saying, when you going to get out of bed?
Right.
And you need to feed the dog.
Kind of sad. All right. Big question: beef tallow or seed oil?
There's no question on this one.
Seed oil, right?
No. Oh my God. Don't you remember when McDonald's French fries were good?
Oh, they were beef tallow at that point.
Yeah. Remember what happened?
Why did they change to seed oil again? I can't remember.
Because some idiot vegetarian went in, ordered the fries, and then found out that they were not vegetarian, which, there should be you don't need to put a sign outside of McDonald's that says, if you're a vegetarian, go somewhere else. We have nothing for you. Right. everything made of meat.
Apparently, it's not kosher to have beef tallow fries, but whatever. Yeah, so they must They're much better tasting
What?
as beef tallow.
Beef tallow
Now,
is not kosher? Beef, if it's kosher beef,
Apparently
you can't.
not. I don't know.
I know you can't have it with
apparently
your
isn't.
milkshake, but
Yeah, true. Portillo's uses beef tallow for their fries, says Chris. Okay.
Huh.
Chris knows his fries. But
but
somebody
he
was
sued.
tweeting
He
that the
sued.
US
He sued, and rather than McDonald's telling him to go take a hike, they settled and started using vegetable oil, and the
right.
fries have never been the
They've
same.
never been the same.
Never been the same.
I forgot about that. Maybe so now I know Steak and Shake did that whole show with Hannity and RFK Jr. They did a show from a Steak and Shake where they've gone to beef tallow.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, as conservatives, I mean, maybe it is much better and it's good for you and all that. But I mean, we've embraced the nanny state. I remember when we used to go crazy over Bloomberg trying to limit you for the size of your big gulp at 7-Eleven in New York City. Now all of a sudden we're embracing this stuff. What's the matter
I don't.
with us?
I don't think it's for the health. I think it's just for the flavor. I don't think
it is actually for the health. That's why.
Well, I know they're
RFK
saying they're
Jr.
doing it for the health, but I don't care.
So somebody came up with a statistic: nearly 80% of adults in the United States are overweight or obese, but in Japan, it's just 3%, and they live about 7 years longer on average. With this caveat, there's no Japanese people. they're limiting themselves. The South Koreans too. They're just not. They're not reproducing themselves. Now I don't know if seed oil helps you. Provide.
Well, maybe that's why they're living longer. It's because they don't have any kids.
Right. Understood. We're gonna take it all in this generation. Chris, I confess that I did not. Sometimes I send you these tweets and I jot down something in my notes as to what they're about, and I think it's enough. But my short-term memory is really shot now. What the heck is this Colin Rugg tweet that I sent to you? Now I'm intrigued about it. Something about underage pictures in bathrooms. Is that it? Let's see. Okay. Oh, from Colin Rugg. American Airlines flight attendant pleads guilty in recording underage girls in airplane bathrooms.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that story.
Yeah.
It's he set up his phone in the bathroom. So.
Oh yeah.
And
my note to myself was actually I tweeted, I know what everyone's thinking, and now I'm trying to remember what I thought everyone is thinking, and now it dawns on me though.
They're thinking I recognize that belly button. I hope she's not 17.
But it's a male. It was a male flight attendant.
Yeah.
A male flight attendant taking video of girls.
Was it girls?
You wouldn't.
It says underage pics. Is it girls?
I thought it was girls.
All you're going to see from the girls is their hair and shoulders. It's. I think it might have.
How would you know that, Tim? Okay. Anyway.
Geometry.
Anyway. Okay. Should I get into my? Chris is going to hate me for this. The Tucker Carlson riff right here. Boy. So, oh boy. Oh yeah. So there was a tweet by Tucker Carlson for all the stuff that was on his show. And, he's got line by line, the timetable for, what he's talking about. Do we have that? Do we have that tweet by any chance, Chris? So, look, Chris Cuomo admits Tucker was right at 846. Joe Rogan changing the media landscape. 1656. Andrew Cuomo versus Eric Adams goes on and on and on. I just wanted somebody to just give me the time code on when Tucker was going to admit to feeling abandoned by his mother and is taking it out on the Jews, America, Winston Churchill, and the end of the hula hoop fad. That's all. That's all I really wanted to know. Did you see Tom Cotton had a tweet and which I said to Chris, in which he rips Tucker. Chris said, "A rip is overstating it." Well, let's let Tim be the judge of this. But Tucker apparently, here's what Tom Cotton said. So, well, first on the Blaze, Tucker Carlson claims GOP Senator Tom Cotton is trying to block the release of the JFK files. And Cotton said, "This is false. I have no problem releasing the JFK files. Had Tucker Carlson asked me, I would have told him. He's texted me multiple times in recent weeks, so he knows how to reach me. Well, I mean, so what is the matter with Tucker? Is he afraid of people? What's the story? I just and it's funny that the guy who's just asking questions all the time can't ask a question of Tom Cotton. I rest my case. There we go.
Yeah,
Bruce, can we on the St. Patrick's Day weekend remember how much Winston Churchill hated the Irish?
I mean, again,
could have been a doctor in 1923.
When my 45th and 47th president, Donald J. Trump, who had the bust of Winston Churchill in the Oval Office, putting it back in after Barack Obama had taken it out, putting it back in after Joe Biden had taken it out. When Donald Trump, the guy who was playing seventh level chess with international relations right now, when he decides that Winston Churchill was worse than Hitler, then I'll come to that side. That's how I feel about it. Oh my God. Oh gee whiz. What's this about Kamala? What's this about Kamala?
I don't know if you saw it. She was at an artificial intelligence seminar, and which perfect for it because she just called it a teleprompter.
A teleprompter. Okay.
And she started talking about how much she wanted to have Doritos at the Oscars, and it just
she wanted to give out Doritos at the Oscars.
She stayed home for the Oscars and wanted Doritos, so she ordered them from DoorDash, and
she had the munchies or something.
I don't know.
I thought she was just a drinker. That's all.
Well, that's obviously she had margaritas and Doritos, but she's talking about it, and it's just every drunk at the end of the bar that gets you in a conversation you don't want to be in. I wanted those Doritos, so I didn't care if they were tracking me.
Well, she sounds like a lot of fun. I don't think I want her, in any kind of governmental position, but she sounds like, a good time gal.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. So, did we talk about the Oscars at all? About the
I think we did last week.
Well, yeah, it was last week, wasn't it? But you didn't watch it. I didn't watch it, right? Am I right about that?
I did not watch it.
I hear that this movie, what is the movie that won again? Anna or
Honora,
which is about women
it's
in
the
trade.
It's kind of like Pretty Woman meets the Russian mob.
Right, but exactly. But spoiler alert, but how can I spoil something? None of our viewers are going to watch. All we care about is the navel of the girl on Landman. We're never going to get to a movie theater.
Michelle Randolph, I believe her name is.
So Honora, basically, it doesn't end up Pretty Woman style. She loses out, and it's really, as some people have said, you don't have to be hyperbolic to say this. It's really a story for our times about a lot of single women who think that the guy is going to stay with her and provide for her, and guys nowadays don't have the incentive to do that. I mean, they got their video games, and
Pretty Woman did not end that way. If Pretty Woman was a real story and not a fairy tale, Richard Gere would have dropped her back on the street and stopped at the pet shop for a couple gerbils.
Exactly. Still, my favorite line from Richard Gere was An Officer and a Gentleman. My father laughed his ass off at that. I'm going to fly jets. That was that was in the era of Richard Gere when he was pretending to be like Rock
Tom
Hudson
Cruise
or Tom Cruise. Bruce Will, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Will, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. All right, getting into economics. Oh boy, no more fun. My head's gonna explode. All right, why don't we start with this James Pethokoukis tweet that I sent you, Chris? Give us a little framework here. He's the former Jeopardy champion. Was a fan of mine when he was growing up in Chicago. So he comments to this newswire. Dow plunges over 1,000 points. S&P 500 tumbles. And he comments, the quote period of transition unquote continues apace. To which I comment, you know how Stalin said you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. I just wish we could afford the eggs to break to make the omelet, although the price of eggs are going down and inflation's going down. So happy days are here again. We don't have anything to worry about. The tariffs are going to work.
What is a dated metaphor for 500, Alex?
Right. Exactly. So I just,
yeah, they're like $3 a dozen. They're down like $3 a dozen. You used to be able to get 3 dozen eggs for $3 though. So I don't know.
Well, right. I mean, yeah, everything's relative. So then Greg Hines, who used to work for me, he's at Cranes. I mean, he worked for me decades ago. He was the political editor of the Lerner newspapers. So he says, as I watch my IRA melt away and odds of recession grow, just got to ask, is this really what America voted for? Real Donald Trump? How much pain for what gain? And so my response to that is, I'll tell you, I'd let a few men play in the broads sports if Trump cut out of all this tariff crap. That's my news about this right now. I mean, everything I've ever read, even when you have Stephen Moore, who actually bent over backwards to kiss Trump's tuchus, which is kind of an image. But even he is saying, I don't know about that. Even he is saying that's difficult. Now, I imagine among the three of us, the only guy, and maybe the four if we even include Chuck Schumer sitting behind you, maybe one of us would support tariffs. I'm guessing Chris would support tariffs. Am I right about this? Chris is even there.
I think I'm lukewarm on tariffs, but
yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, me too. So two halves make a whole, I guess.
I understand.
That's like being slightly pregnant. Okay. Yeah. I don't think they work. Everything I've ever read, and I'll just so you know, you should know. Larry Kudlow, this guy who Dan Proft and I had to talk to him every single week on WLS. I mean, and he just would talk. He'd filibuster every single week, and then he becomes Trump's guru. And and I think Laffer was like the best man at his wedding or something. Whatever. I mean, Larry Kudlow, big deal. I just read an article this week.
The creator of the Laffer curve, right?
Right. There you go. Okay. You get an A in economics.
I think we might have a few listeners that think that that's a Batman villain.
It may as well be.
The Laffer.
Yeah. Larry Kudlow actually confused. You're going to roll your eyes up in your head. He confused Ricardo's equivalence with Ricardo's comparative advantage. How do you do that? Said the Laffer. Yeah. I mean, he actually confused the two. No, I don't have to delineate the differences between David Ricardo, the famed economist from the 19th century, the difference between equivalence and comparative advantage. But if Larry Kudlow doesn't know that, do these guys even know their earth is from a hole in the ground right now? Everything I'm reading about, I always liken it, talk about tired metaphors. Mine, of course, is life is more complicated than a Rubik's Cube. And you try to, touch one side of this, the other side's going to go bonkers. If it were that easy, tariffs would work, and they don't work. But apparently Trump thinks Smoot-Hawley was good. And
it depends. It depends on what you're looking for. If you want
economic well-being.
Yeah. If you want another country to lower their tariffs, if you put equivalent tariffs on their goods, then you've got a position to negotiate. Here's
the thing. Everybody thinks like this trade deficit is the worst thing in the world. We got a trade deficit. No, you've got a trade deficit every time you give some money to somebody who gives you goods for that. That's a trade deficit, but you got something for it. And and here's something that Scott Lincecum said. When the trade deficit goes up, everybody's worried about the deficit. That's Trump's big argument. the unemployment rate tends to go down. Now, he says this doesn't mean, of course, that a higher trade deficit causes lower U.S. unemployment. That would be post hoc ergo propter schlock. But it should at least give us pause about trade deficits killing jobs and put the burden of proof on those claiming that it does.
I never said anything about trade deficits.
Trump always talks about trade deficits.
Oh, okay.
That's what he. That's what he's.
Okay.
Oh no, we've got such a trade deficit going on. That's what we. That's why we have to have these tariffs. It's a bunch of garbage.
But do you think it's okay that a Cadillac there's a 240% tariff to buy a Cadillac in Japan, and then Japanese cars here have no tariff or minimal tariff? That's the kind of stuff that I understand, where it's like, well, we're screwing the American automakers because we're not selling worldwide on the basis that we allow Japan to sell in America.
Well, yeah, I think the reason why they don't want them over there, though, is when they talk about it, it sounds like they're talking about an eye problem.
Sure, I got it. I got that one before you got halfway through it, buddy. Come on, you may as well be telling your Rahm Emanuel Japanese joke. Come on, I know you. I know your encyclopedia of Japanese jokes. I got that. All right, so here's the thing. Speaking of Japan, I saw a Charlie Kirk tweet the other day. Oh, Trump's been consistent for 30 years, and it's a wonderful thing to be consistent. Actually, Charlie, you little punk, who goes on Gavin Newsom's podcast, Trump's been consistent for 40 years. He was on Oprah talking about, how trade deficits and tariffs. And you know who he was worried about when he was on Oprah like almost 40 years ago? The Japanese, because they were going to take over. Japanese. Yep. And what happened to the Japanese? Well, as we described in an earlier segment, they don't even exist anymore. They haven't even reproduced themselves.
Here's another issue I have that I kind of support tariffs. If we're relying on like China or another country that's essentially an enemy nation for our steel and aluminum,
I'll stipulate there are some reasons for dealing with China in a very
but more than that,
way.
There's reasons to try to get the American metallurgical industries moving again.
There was always the argument in favor of tariffs. Infant industries was one, and protection, military, and there is something to be said for being very careful about dealing with China. But for our friends, Canada, Trump is upset about a treaty that he made with them. I mean, only Trump could do that. Only he could argue about that. So anyway, right. Well, let's move on from there. There's more important things. Did you insert this or did I insert this, Chris? Are you just reading my tweets and doing things on your own without me even telling you? Because did I even say anything about Ramblin' Ray?
You sent me the tweet, and then we had a discussion about the radio.
Okay.
game.
Anyway,
apparently, I looked it up for you, Bruce.
Yeah,
is that BBM is laying people off, and he was saying, I'm sorry, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to be laid off.
Ramblin' Ray, who has the job that I should have, WLS in the mornings.
Speaking of being laid off,
he says, sending good vibes to WBBM News Radio and everyone affected by this week's cuts. I've been there and it's tough. Lots of pros that are very good at content creation. Better things ahead. I know. I actually tweeted back went, Ray! And he tweeted back to me, Bruce. I think we'd make a great team. Ray, Bruce, Ray, Bruce.
How about some better things ahead for me there, Ray? I'm stuck here on a Friday podcast with Slagle.
Well, here's the thing, Ray. Look, first of all, I don't think. Ray seems what the problem with Ray is. He's a nice guy. You can tell him the tweet. Look at the tweet. Sending good vibes. Who sends good vibes to people who have jobs when you don't? Well, he has one right now, but you don't send good. I never send a good vibe. Let's compare that to the tweet. Did you see the tweet that I got that I sent out? I sent you a Chris Bowden. We picked on him before. Bowden tweets. Sent this to you this right before the show. I don't know if you have it, Chris. Okay. But anyway, Chris Bowden is actually a former intern of mine. One of my first interns like 40 years ago. Was really nice, is a nice guy. If you've ever seen him do the sports over the decades, very nice, placid fellow, terrific. Gets on Twitter.
Political
and
asshat.
He's a maniac. Okay. And he's a leftist. and here's the latest. His latest was, and Reagan was an actor / idiot, but at least he understood this, or about tariffs, whatever. So I just think it's funny that he's tweeting this way. And, I can't blame him, because for decades he had to suck the schwanzstuckers of athletes. So now he's letting off leftist steam. But, what's my excuse? I didn't genuflect to athletes. I was irreverent. So why am I so hostile now? And I'm on the right, which is worse. Shame on me. So, yeah, right. I take it on myself. But Chris Bowden should be allowed to be vitriolic on Twitter. I mean, it's just funny to see, these sportscasters who just have, oh yeah, Sammy Sosa's back. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, wait, didn't he take steroids? And wasn't he a cheater? Oh, it's wonderful. Sammy's back. Cubs love him. But they have to have their outlet. And that's a theory as to why these guys like on sports radio are so woke. Because I mean, if you had to talk for 4 hours a day about the latest addition to the Bears offensive line in March, you have to talk about that.
I think at least here in Chicago, here in Chicago, you have to be woke. Otherwise, George Soros is going to let you go.
670 the Squirrels. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Well, Tim, little competition now for our dominance in the podcast market.
Yeah, we got we're going up against the brothers.
Michelle Hussein Obama. I don't know what her middle name is. Robinson, I think it is, right? Chicago girl.
Well, she kept her maiden name, yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyway, she started a podcast with her brother, with Oprah.
Of course, if she kept her dead name.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this Alex Brusewitz says she just started. Michelle Obama debuted her new podcast a couple of days ago with the full weight of the mainstream media machine hyping it across every major outlet and network, free promotion that most creators could only dream of. Yet, despite this massive push, she scraped together a measly 17,000 subscribers. That's a mere, 16,900 more than we. And in her 3 episodes.
Yeah, but how many of those were paid for with USAID? So
there we go. So those will be gone pretty soon. And her 3 episodes have limped to a pathetic 74,000 views combined. As someone with deep expertise in this space, I can say with authority, these numbers aren't just unimpressive; they're an outright disaster. So, and my understanding is not one of the chosen few to have actually listened to her podcast, but I understand she was on, and who's she doing this with again? Her brother, did you say?
Yeah. Her brother, former head coach of Oregon State University basketball, if you recall.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, and they were talking about how Barack is commonly late to things. And he was about to say some kind of acronym for ethnics being late. And he just paused and said, island time. So, it's not really a racial thing necessarily. It's because of where if you're from a warmer climate, you just do things more slowly. I mean, don't white Southerners, they talk slowly, don't they? I mean, that's what a drawl is. I mean, so I think it has to do with climate, but and also marijuana.
If it's really nice, if it's really nice, you only have to learn how to hurry when you're in the northern climates, when you have to go from the car into the building.
Right. And also, as I say, I think it's drug induced, because if you recall, President Obama said that when he was growing up in Hawaii, was in what he called the Chum gang. So that was, I mean, so that's, hey man, never run for a bus. There'll always be another. Yeah, I get that. So yeah, best of luck to them on, it's a tough business. Is there any little bit of advice that you could give Michelle Obama, because Tim, because it seems like she's struggling a little bit at the outset here, and
it's when you make sure that you plan for an extra hour when you make an appointment with the divorce attorney. because
So
he's
did
not
they
going to be
even
in to
hint
sign the
at-
papers.
Did they even hint about the marriage? This is, by the way, Bruce's trans news, according to Chris.
Isn't it? Well,
graphic that he put out.
isn't the fact that she's starting to diss him? Isn't that kind of
Oh, but you know, it's
kind of
affection. I mean,
indicative?
you got to give the audience something there. I mean, you got to, but that's, tardiness.
Apparently, they
hardly
haven't been seen together
impeachable.
in years.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, he went stag to the inauguration. He went stag to the funeral. He went.
Yeah. All right. I feel bad.
And his chef died when the two of them were out paddleboarding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right.
maybe
Yeah.
the
1
chef,
plus
maybe
1
the
equals
chef,
5.
maybe the chef was going to go to the press and say, I'm tired of hiding this, Barack. And he goes, Hillary, yeah, this is Barack. You still know people?
Right. And so all of a sudden he's Fredo in the rowboat, I guess. So here's another one I sent you, Chris. I don't know if you have it here. It's a Fox News one from Danica Patrick. And she's Danica's on our side. She's a conservative, but I like, I hate it that it's only the left that's known for eating its own. I'd like for us to eat our own too. So Danica had this tweet just talking about how it's great right now to see conservatives at the fore. She says, it's finally cool to be conservative again. It's finally okay to speak your mind and speak rationality into people again. And the only thing I could think of was, in my day, being conservative meant, what the heck is a woman doing on the racetrack? Janet Guthrie is slowing things down. So,
well,
yeah, okay, Danica. Yeah.
Well, it's
she's
they
cute,
have a pit crew to park it for them, so
exactly.
There's really no issue. You got to make sure you
all right. So
watch
where
those
are we
rims
here?
when you get to the curbs.
Ooh, oh yeah. All right, we got some other nonsense here in our final segment. Are you watching SNL at all? Do you watch it?
I didn't know.
The best thing about SNL now, I mean, it's Twitter. You could just watch clips. You don't have to sit through the whole thing. It's
I find it hard to sit through those clips sometimes.
Even the clips. Well, here's the thing. So the cold open this week was Mike Myers doing his Elon Musk impersonation. And the best part of it was he goes into a Dr. Evil with the finger, the pinky up to us, and he goes something of like $1 billion.
$100 billion.
Yeah, $100 billion.
I've lost $100 billion.
Yeah, all right. And the funny, and that's funny because it's meta. It's it's self-referential, and usually self-referential doesn't work. But I thought that was funny that he's quoting himself there. Later in the show. And your comments, Mr. Comic Expert, did you like it or no?
It's Mike Myers, they love the taglines, and that was that pinky to the chin. That's a Mike Myers tag.
Well, I mean, and it was just it was funny to see that. To me, maybe I'm an easy mark.
It's Jimmy J.J. Walker saying Dynamite. It's the same. Same kind of
Eat my shorts, Bart Simpson. There's so many.
What you talking about, Willis?
Oh yeah. Would you believe? So all right. So later in the show, they have this newscast. Colin Jost, who I can't stand. He's even made a point about how he's got that a smile that you want to deck him for. But they had Lady Gaga was the host of the show. I hate explaining this because I hate reprising jokes. They're the ones who did it. But anyway, they have Lord Gaga on. Okay. And he's like an 18th century Duke or Earl or Lord. And he's up there and he's talking about how his wife is Lady Gaga. And she started this little hobby where she's singing and composing things. And isn't that nice for the little woman to do? And, and Colin Jost is trying to say, hey, she's really, really, really successful. And, and Lord Gaga is oblivious to it. He just thinks it's this little hobby that his lady has. And then he turns it on Colin and says, and it would be, and Colin, of course, is married to Scarlett Johansson, right?
I do now.
Okay. And
I do now.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, he is. And so he says, I mean, isn't it terrible? Wouldn't it be? Isn't it a terrible thing for a man to have his wife making much, much, much more money than and so he turns it on him. And the funny thing about that is, it works on two levels. I think, one is, oh yes, men can be so bad that they can't stand that a woman would make more money. But the deeper level is, yeah, men really don't like that. And Colin just actually looked upset about it. And,
like he didn't know the line was coming?
No, not that he didn't know that was coming, but that, yeah, it is emasculating that Scarlett Johansson makes more money than he does, even though he makes a ton of money at Saturday Night Live. Anyway, that's the way. Look,
a lot of times,
trust the teller. What?
A lot of times, women don't like it more.
Right.
I mean, that's
right.
why there's so many successful single women. It's because they can't find a man more successful than themselves.
What they found is that women still, even when they're successful, still will look for men who make more money than they do, which is one reason that for income disparity, because you used to have men would marry their secretaries. Now, maybe those secretaries, could have been lawyers and doctors or whatever, but, didn't have the opportunity. But at least it was a step up for them economically. But now, no. And this is actually a favorite thing of Tucker Carlson. Deep down, to him, it's all about the fact that we should go back to the era in which Barbara Billingsley wasn't talking jive in Airplane, but before then, and she was Leave It to Beaver's mother. And when the woman is at home making the the dinners for the husband who comes home, and he wants it back to that way. And at some level, a lot of women, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of women kind of feel that way too, and so do men. Which is why that joke actually worked. Why that joke actually worked. So,
well, it actually worked because the audience knew that Scarlett Johansson was his wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have sat there. I would have sat there saying, why are they laughing? Why is he looking so sheepish? Why I don't
with that,
this.
We end another edition of the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.